Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called The Wrong Color. I lived in this town surrounded by magnificent vistas. There was a small development on the outskirts for upscale homes and mansions. Below the development were a few older homes. Many celebrities and business owners had vacation properties in the area, multi-million-dollar houses they used maybe 1 month out of the year. Real estate had always been at a premium. There was one older home amongst all of these giant view lots. A new buyer was a guy who owned a slew of RV dealerships and had obscene amounts of money. He bought the most prominent lot on the top of the hill as he entered the development of maybe 20 lots. His project was a massive stucco structure with a multi-car garage and a much bigger RV storage space with a huge roll-up garage door. Think of the biggest RVs you have seen, and he had a garage built for it with an automatic door. The house was a nondescript sand color with a red tiled roof. The entire lot was tastefully landscaped with different kinds of rocks, small mounds here and there, and a few shrubs to be low maintenance. The back of the property was fenced in with an 8-foot or higher block wall. The fence itself probably cost $100K. His neighbor was a school teacher who had lived there before the development started and had a modest house. He decided to take advantage of the skyrocketing land prices in the neighborhood and sell. Except no one wanted his house when there were much larger empty lots available. He decided the real issue was that the new behemoth blocked his view, and that's why no one wanted to buy his 3-bedroom ranch house at mansion prices. It was really that his home didn't appeal to the market. So he became the president of the HOA, which included the older homes and the new development. And then the harassment started. The HOA had formed after the RV mansion construction had begun, but the home was so big it took almost a year to finish. The HOA had passed a design theme rule. All houses must be painted in a specific color palette, with the predominant color being a taupe that was darker than this man's standard beige stucco color house. The palette included taupe, a selection of trim colors in pink, teal or tan. It was intended to give the community a Santa Fe look and feel, which just happened to be the colors of the president's house. The RV owner took the HOA to court, and the trial dragged on for a year. The guy never used the property, claiming it was still under construction during this time. He lost in court and had to repaint his property using only the design theme approved colors. So the guy brought out his contractor and had him repaint the entire property the Pepto-Bismol pink trim color. Everything was painted this color. The house, the fence, the trim, and the rocks in the yard. Then he had the massive driveway to the garage done in the same pink stamped concrete. Even the garage doors were pink. He locked up the house and never stayed there. The HOA was in an uproar, because this house could be seen at the top of the hill for miles. None of the other lot owners broke ground. The president's home didn't sell for 2 years. The next story is called The Fence is Too High. My dad found himself in this situation a few years ago. He bought a small piece of land on a lake that had no buildings or anything on it, just a strip of grass between the road and the lake. One summer, he and I built a dock there, and a few weeks later we found some guys fishing there. My dad didn't kick them off, but let them know it is private property. To avoid this from happening again, because of liability concerns, if somebody gets hurt, my dad hires a guy to build a fence. It was a nice looking fence with standard 6-foot panels. However, this impacted the view of the neighbors across the street. They lost some of their view of the grass and maybe a little of the lake, but not everything. So they complained to the municipality by law enforcement, because what we didn't know was that you were only allowed fences to the height of 4 feet 9 inches in our area. After being hit with a ticket and ordered to remove or refit the fence to be within bylaw requirements, my dad did just that. He chopped the fence down and replaced it with a 4 feet 9 inches wire mesh fence attached to posts. What he also did was confirm with the bylaw officer that there was no rule against hedges. Armed with that knowledge, he went to a nursery and asked for 20 of their fastest growing, tallest cedar hedges. When they arrived, they were already 12 feet tall. My dad planted them all against the property line with access to the driveway that was also surrounded by hedges. If the neighbors had any view left, it was soon to be gone. In the 5 to 6 years since the first planting, my dad has taken care of the hedges as if they were his own children. Carefully watering, feeding and tending to them, but never trimming. These hedges are now close to 40 feet tall and completely obstruct the lake from the neighbor's house, and there's nothing they can do about it. It's estimated that this lack of view will cost them $50,000 when they go to sell their house. Once they do, my dad plans to introduce himself and offer to lob their hedges down to 20 feet so they can have a view. The last story is called Bad News. My ex-employer announced some news regarding our jobs. It was obviously false, but instead of calling them out, I treated it exactly as I would have if it was true and it bounced back in their face. It was a while ago, when I was working in a community-based organization. We provided end-of-the-line shelter for people and did rights advocacy in a medium town. The salary was low but okay, but most employees were there because they believed in what we did. The main problem was the manager. She didn't act accordingly to the set of values the organization was based on. She was grossly overpaid compared to employees, took everything personally, made sure we were cut off from the administrators, and created an atmosphere where people feared retribution. We were unionized, but after a few months I realized no one was ever filing complaints, even for trivial matters, because they feared she was going to lash back at them. Turns out she had done it to a few people in the past. Once I figured I wasn't going to stay there much longer, I decided to sign all the complaints I could. According to the union, I could sign anything I witnessed, even if I wasn't the target. That way, administrators couldn't claim not knowing, and there was a chance for my colleague to have a better work environment. So of course, the next few months were a living hell. She picked on me regularly. Still, most people sided with me, at least privately, most of them fearing she would do the same treatment to them if they declared it publicly. One morning, she calls a staff meeting. She explains that a large amount of complaints have been filed in the last months. Looks at me. According to her, the cost to settle them or to pay the lawyers to fight them might bankrupt the organization, and everyone is thus at risk of losing their jobs soon. Panic ensues. My colleagues are crying. They are calling their significant others. A lot of people are begging me to take them back, stating she got the lesson. Some of them are generally mad at me. In my opinion, it was obviously BS made to turn them against me. I mean, the solo emergency housing of a 100k city, annually filled at 115% capacity, would be closing for a dozen complaints, where I'm not even asking for money in any form, over legal fees which are usually budgeted in advance. Come on, it's basic fear-brewing schemes. Normally, I would have questioned it during the meeting or tried to reason with them afterward. But that time, I decided to comply with the narrative and treat it as true. I left for my break and did what I would have done if we were really closing, appealing to the public outrage to help us fulfilling our mission. I called the news, told them verbatim the morning announcement, the service hole it would create in the community, the job impact it would have in the city, etc. The local news picked it up. They called the manager and administrators about running the story, questioning how come there were enough complaints to threaten a 35-year-old pillar of the community services, asking what the complaints were about, etc. Before 4 PM that same day, we had another meeting to explain that we must have misunderstood the first meeting. The organization was in no shape or form in danger of closing. Sure, we must have misunderstood. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and would like to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.